God, you can really see how tough that is for her, isn't it? I mean, Coleen, obviously you've had a lot of experience with cancer in the family. Do you think there's a difference between telling the family once and then having to tell them again?
Yes. I mean, having spoken to all three of my sisters about that, really, over time. I think, you know, the first time when Bernie and Lynn, obviously Anne has had cancer twice and she's amazing because she's still here and it's all gone with Anne. And I feel sometimes Anne gets left out a bit, like, because she survived, it's not, oh, she's fine, she survived. And actually, she's gone through it for years. But I think with Bernie and Linda, I think because they came out and it was very public, which really, really helped them at the time, really helped them. And the amount of love they got back for it and the amount of people saying, oh, you've given me strength to carry on and, you know, I'm going to do this. And I think the second time, especially with Linda, I think the second time was harder for her because, A, you've lost the hope you had the first time. You know, no matter what you say, and it's come back a second time, but, you know, initially she was like, but, you know, they're saying they can still treat it. It's not curable, but they can treat it. But inside, when I really spoke to her, she said, there's that element of, I'm done. But then she said, there's the guilt that you feel that you've let the people down, almost, that you've stopped them having hope because they had hope because of you, and now you've got it again. And I know there's a guilt of, I feel like I've stopped anyone having hope of being okay. And then with the family, you know, her main thing was when they said, you know, it's kind of spread, but it's treatable, it's not curable. She said, just bringing myself to tell you all, I just kept thinking I can't keep putting them through this again. And my brother was the same, you know, he got diagnosed with prostate cancer literally 2 weeks before Linda passed away. And he didn't tell any of us till way after the funeral and all. And I was like, so you've carried this and organised all her funeral, because he did. He took control of everything. And he said, I just couldn't put you all through it.
God, like, how selfless.
It is, but I think people do almost become selfless because their biggest sadness is seeing the sadness on their family and the people they love, seeing the sadness on their faces. And then they're the ones, I remember with Linda, Bernie, Anne and Brad, they're the ones that are going, it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. I'm thinking, this is so weird because it kind of should be the other way around, but they're trying to give us hope.
No, and just as it's
I totally get why
why
Kylie decided the second time, I'm just going to do this bit on my own and get through it.
I mean, I guess the thing is we have to let everybody do it the
way they want to.
That works for them. Because as you said there, Coleen, there's so many complex emotions in there that, you know, it's not for anyone on the outside to judge. No. I mean, Kelle, your experience, and we actually have a clip of you. We're going back to 2016. Do you mind us showing this? This is when you first came on the show talking about your lupus diagnosis. Here we go.
It was really spiralling, and so no matter what they tried to do in terms of managing the disease, it wasn't becoming under control. And then I had a seizure, and I was driving my car at the time, and fortunately I got onto the... Fortunately I got onto my driveway, and then I had a seizure. And then when I came round, I lost 3 days of my life. I don't remember what happened. My mum said I was...
You find that hard to watch?
Yeah. It is hard to watch. It's 10 years ago. And to think, I mean, now I can celebrate the fact that I am now in remission. And in terms of talking about it, you know, people, you know, ask, you know, we were talking about this morning, you were saying, you know, do you feel comfortable to the fact that you've been so public about it? And I think about that decision that I made back then. And I mean, now we're in a situation because of research and funding that there's a new treatment called CAR T-cell therapy, where 5 patients have actually been tested and gone through the therapy, and they're now actually in remission. So whereas before there was no hope, I now feel like that was worth it, because there are people out there who now have hope of getting better. There are so many patients out there, and I just couldn't be selfish and think about myself. They are voiceless. They don't have anyone to listen to them. It's not like cancer, where it's so where it's much more known about and there's a lot more attention.
Yeah, lupus is...
Yeah, whereas lupus is like 1 in 9. So there just wasn't, at that time, they didn't have a voice. And so for me, I felt responsible that I had to do something.
How much did it take for you to do that? Because I can see it took a lot for you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot for me to talk about it. It doesn't matter when or when. I mean, at that time, I've only just been able to speak because I lost speech because I had a stroke. So I had to learn to speak and walk and talk and all of that stuff again. But I think in my mind, it's always about the other patients because I can walk. I can talk now, I can do those things. And there are patients that can't even now.
Or once at the beginning of the journey that think there's no hope.
Exactly that.
To see you and go,
Cole, because they contact me and say, you know, well, if you can and you're where you are now, hopefully, if I keep going, I can get there. And that's,
but
that's
everybody,
what's important.
I think that's really admirable, but I think that it shouldn't be cancer sufferers shouldn't feel that they have to share every aspect of their journey. I mean, Jennifer Saunders was really interesting because when she revealed she'd had cancer, she didn't want to talk about it. She said it wasn't brave, it wasn't a battle. She hated all the terminology that went. She wasn't that kind of person and she didn't want to be seen as a victim. And, of course, cancer takes a terrible toll on your mental health at the same time. So you are under pressure with endless appointments, endless cycles of treatment, not necessarily getting the best feedback from the hospitals.
Masses of medication.
Masses of medication and all of that. So someone I know had one kind of cancer and they got through that, then they had another second kind of cancer, and then about 4 weeks ago, the hospital rang them up and said, you've got the all clear. And their reaction was to more or less go into a total nosedive mentally. It was as if they'd stored up coping. And as Coleen has said, to appear normal to everybody else, to not burden other people with what they were going through. So when they were told it was at an end, they collapsed. They completely collapsed psychologically and felt anxious.
Anxious, and then the fear kicks in.
Anxious and fear. Kind of dread takes over.
Linda had a therapist that she saw every week, and for years, right until from her first diagnosis right to the end. So, you know, years and years and years. And actually, she said that she couldn't have got through it without her, because the thing with the therapist is she could really open up. Yeah. She could really let everything out, because she wasn't protecting anyone then. Because I feel Bernie, Linda and Anne, all the way through, were constantly trying to protect us. Yeah. They were constantly trying to make it less painful for us. Yeah. And that's really hard. For them, but also for you, because you kind of want to go, you can say it's never going to be less painful. You know? No,
I know. But I mean, I guess inevitably we focus on the physical, don't we? You know, are you going to survive or not survive? But that kind of mental battle is going to be different for everyone. If you need any help or support with anything we've discussed, you can go to ITV.com/helplines.